We're back talking about the new President-elect Barack Obama and his administration and what he's going to be doing for us and over the next 4 years. And I was just saying right before we came back on the air that he has to hit the ground running. He has to take care of the economy. He is concerned about the war. So where do these social issues that we're talking about, that our communities are concerned about, where do they fall into this massive charge that he has?
Any of you want to go?
Julia, you go first.
Well, I think that the social issues can certainly be going on simultaneously while the other things are going on, because we don't live in a vacuum, so we have to do one thing at a time. So I think that, and there's a role for everyone in this. A lot of us believe that a president is going to do all of these things by himself. But you know, there are committees, there are appointments, and there are groups of people who can absolutely instigate the things that they want to go on themselves. So I don't think it is necessary that he will hit the ground running. But I think that when you look at the certain issues that at first, people are out there starving, we're in a recession, they want their jobs back, they want to have a house to live in that they once purchased that has been taken away. Now those are some priorities that ought to be out there. When we look at sometimes what's happening in our public schools, which have become killing fields, and that the children are simply just sitting there most of the time and being placed in special ed classes, which are nothing but holding cells until they're old enough to go to the state prison. We need to look at those type things to change that, because if we don't change them at that early age, then this is what they're going to mature to be. And since change was absolutely the theme of all of this, and I can remember about 50 years ago when a person said a change is going to come, Sam Cooke and that crowd, through that kind of music that they sing, well, it is time for us to do that. But since one person cannot do that, there can be committees, organizations that can run that, while the president and the cabinet may be primarily or overseers or whatever it might be.
Because he kind of helps set the tone.
That's right. You set the tone for that, and now you have people thinking that they can do it, that they can go. But as the president, I would hope that he would take advantage of this moment while people are still revved up. They're ready to go too. They're ready to hit the ground running. Before or after the inauguration, they're ready to go, because now they have faith in the leadership.
Right, there's that hopes and the dreams.
That's right.
So Gilda, what are your hopes and dreams for this?
Well, I think, I think we have to also acknowledge and celebrate the majority of the House and the Senate in terms of Democrat, and so we're hoping and counting on the legislature to also support the new Senate, the new president's agenda, and so they will handle simultaneously some of the social issues that are of major concern for all of our communities. So we really have to look to and hold accountable our legislators in this whole transformation of our country.
Right, because the president doesn't do this alone.
Absolutely, and as well as the states. The states have their own obligation for many of the social issues that each one of us, can elaborate, by our communities, our neighborhoods, our school systems, public safety. I mean, it goes on and on.
That's right.
Okay, Vincent?
Well, I think that it's impossible to divorce issues of economic justice from issues of social justice, that we know when the economy's in a downturn that communities of color, that immigrant communities tend to get scapegoated. So I think what the president can do is really set a tone that says, in order for us to address these big challenges that range from the foreclosure crisis to joblessness to energy independence, we really have to be all in it together. And if we can have a president that conveys that to all people across the country, that it really is about pulling together, that we're stronger when we all do come together. And I think, again, he's been very consistent in his campaign about not letting the old tactics of division take over. And so I think that's important.
Is that going to filter down to the Latino community, the Asian communities, the African American communities, the Native American communities? Does that give us a template, if you will, for us to all work together as opposed to being divided and conquered?
And a lot of it depends on, we hope so, I agree with you, a lot of it depends upon the persons that are placed in charge of this. Like you have a Secretary of the Agriculture, well, the farms may grow depending on who you made the Secretary of the Agriculture. There's a Secretary of Education, the schools will improve, the President doesn't have to be doing that, because that Secretary will also have a staff that is working to make sure that the mandates are carried through.
So we're expecting and hoping for a diverse cabinet.
Absolutely.
Yes, it should be.
Absolutely.
And I think if we're going to ever have one, it would certainly be with this president who spoke of this throughout the campaign.
Now, I remember there's a certain TV star by the name of Oprah, and when she first got started, she was heavily criticized because her staff was not of color. But the thing, and I always remember this because she said, I'm just getting started. I want the best people around me, and if they are color, fine. If they are not, fine. Get me started, and we'll bring everybody up. Is that where he is, you think, or are we much more advanced than that right now?
Well, I certainly hope we are much more advanced than that, because when we say we want the best people and they're all one color, I mean, what about the rest of the people? Are we all high school dropouts or whatever we are? I think that you have to work hard enough to find someone from each of those groups who is as qualified just as the person who is issuing this out, and put them on there, because that helps the people that they're working with. When they see one that looks like them, they'll say, well, I too can do this. See, we have to keep being an example to the youth and those that are growing up. And if they ever see anyone who works like them in a position of power, in a position to tell them that you too can come up, then we're right back where we started.
And I agree
from.
with you. You have to find the right people.
You
They may be
find
out
them.
there. They may not be easy to find.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to find them. And once you find them and put them in a place of leadership, they can be a mentor and,
That's
and
great.
a good
That's
example.
right.
Exactly.
That's
Part is how we think about you know, the word qualified. I think that we can take a very narrow definition or we can take a broad definition. And I think that there are outstanding people working in different fields and different communities that can do these jobs. They may not have the typical Washington background, for example, but they're out there as community organizers, they're out there running nonprofits, they're out there in many different areas. And I think that I'm hopeful that an Obama presidency would appreciate that, and that, you know, by appreciating that, we'd have you know, a cabinet and administration that looks like America, and more importantly stands for the values that America's about: inclusion, equality, opportunity for everybody. And so that it's not just window dressing, because I think that, you know, that's part of the game that often happens in politics, and I don't think that that's what we would want.
Well, and I would be so shocked if he isn't. His cabinet is not diverse, because there's a certain amount of authenticity that he is that he's about, and so he is speaking out unity and diversity, and so to me it's just without a doubt it will be reflected in all that he does.
Yeah, I think he's
because it's real.
True to his word about that.
Absolutely.
We're out of time, so what we're going to say is I'd like to thank all of my guests this morning: Vincent Pan, Gilda Gonzalez, and Dr. Julia Hare for being here. If you would like to contact them or find out more information about their organizations, visit us at KTVU.com. Click on to Community for the Bay Area People page. But we have run out of time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next week when we have a new edition of Bay Area People. So until then, I'm Rosie Chu. Have a terrific weekend. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.